Hello and welcome back to the Obojima Podcast. My name is Jeremiah, and I am with the other writers of Obojima today, and not just Adam. The prodigal son returns.
Yeah.
The sweetest boy. Ari, the man, the myth, the legend. Adam and I have had too much free reign without you.
I've noticed.
And I'm here to go bring the hammer back down.
That's right.
But that's okay, because what we get from it is better ideas.
Gold, yeah. It's just all around better.
In today's episode, you're joining us for the Obojima Podcast. Let me do the rest of it. You're joining us from the Obojima Podcast, where we sit down and we chat Obojima. We're the writers of Obojima, and this is our weekly writers meeting. And we're doing something a little special today. Ari had the amazing idea, as he already is bringing amazing content in, to go through the subclasses that are laid out in the new player's handbook and describe how some of those subclass ideas might fit into Obojima. As Ari very masterfully said before the podcast was running, you fool.
I'm out of practice.
That the subclasses in the Obojima book are not the only subclasses available in Obojima. They are the subclasses that are native to Obojima. And so this whole concept is just us going through and kind of coming up with fun ways that the pre-existing subclasses from D&D could fit into Obojima.
Yeah.
Like, what's the Obojima-fied version of... Wow, I skipped over all the subclasses. Of the Path of the World tree.
What?
That feels more specific than I thought it was going to be.
All right, let's read the description.
What
Yeah,
is the
let's
path
dive
of the
right
world
in.
tree?
Let's get
Barbarians
into
who
this.
follow the path of the world tree connect to the cosmic tree. Okay, this is
Yggdrasil.
super specific. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to pronounce the Scandinavian word. Through their rage, this tree grows among outer planes, connecting them to each of the other material planes. These barbarians draw the tree's magic for vitality and as a means of dimensional travel. Wow, this truly was the worst one to start on.
No
Well,
way. So
no.
it's hyper specific in the words it's using, in terms of tying it to Yggdrasil and things like that, and the the material or the outer planes and stuff. And we know that the Obojima cosmology is a little bit different. But there's a lot in here that I think connects in theme to things that would be
That's fair. That's
to
fair.
be in Obojima. I don't know. You had,
Well, I generally, commune with trees through my own rage. So, this will
Adam,
be right in.
every weekend, Adam sends me a video of him on a hike, and he's punching a tree and sobbing.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
calls it my time with mom.
My moments of rage with my tree friends.
No, I guess
No,
you're right. Stripping away all of the very hyper-specific things that don't exist in Obojima, connecting to a tree, and then I guess passing through realms are the big things that come from this subclass. And so, okay, let's see here. I mean, I would say, without reading any of the special abilities, because I don't know what else happens here, my immediate thought is connecting to the Dawn Blossom tree as a
Yggdrasil.
possibility.
Yeah.
There's also, I've been really into the ingredients lately for some of the other stuff that I'm working on. And there's, I believe it's Yugi sap, which is this special sap that's produced when spirits pass into trees. And so that's also a possibility where it's just there is connections between spirits and trees that exist all throughout Obojima, but those are the two that immediately jump to my head. Although Yugi sap is less, it's a sap-based barbarian is less cool than the Dawn Blossom tree.
If you imagine if you go in the spirit realm and there is a huge elder spirit there that is a tree, or it's not a tree but it manifests in the material or in the physical world as a tree in some fashion or something like that, and this barbarian is connected to that, because I'm looking at the the abilities here, and there's some there's abilities to teleport, so the idea of passing between or into the spirit realm to then pop out elsewhere, but you're connected to this tree in this way. There's this life-giving force ability where you get temporary hit points, so there might be this tree of vitality within the spirit realm that this barbarian is connected to in some way.
It's almost like if Link at the beginning of Ocarina of Time became a paladin of the Great Deku Tree. That's almost what this barbarian subclass feels like. If you made this huge connection to this otherworldly, elder spirit that lives in the center of the Lost Woods.
Yeah, and I think, with a barbarian in Obojima, I think it's just taking rage and then just turning it into something else. Like just even that word, just saying like it's your vital force or your intention or your, I
mean, we use rage in the Obojima subclass too, but I think maybe the general understanding or the way I imagine rage within Obojima is more like passion. Like you can be angry in Obojima and you can be furious in Obojima, but I think it's fueled by like passion and maybe love, or like, instead of what I would assume the standard rage thought process is, which is
rage quitting,
crushing, like crushing your enemies, or like the fuel of battle.
I mean, this one literally has their vitality. They have this thing called Vitality Surge. When you activate your rage, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your barbarian level. So you activate your rage, and then you just become more vital. Like that doesn't feel like rage. That's simply, rage is a placeholder for a thing you can do, right? You can activate this thing. But I do think, like, you mentioned something that you said it almost sounds like it could be a paladin. So how do we drive this into more of the barbarian space than paladin? Like, it's not about devotion, or it's not about that kind of not like swearing fealty to this tree or anything like that, or an oath,
So, I guess the path in general is an interesting take for barbarians. I'm not quite sure exactly how they describe paths within the new setting or within the new book. Let's see if I can find that section. But, one thing you could potentially do is, rather than devoting, maybe these barbarians are barbarians that traveled to this great tree and like communed with it, like sat and maybe Adam and Eve style partook of its fruit and like connected with this tree, and now they can kind of draw on some of the power that is given, and it's less of like a, hey, I made a deal with you, or I'm I have to follow this down to a T. Like, there could be bad versions of these barbarians. They've just, they've made the journey to this place and communed with the tree, and have now, connected to the power that the tree has.
I think
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I think it's really interesting that we, like, let's say we make a tree like that in the spirit realm. And, oftentimes we've said that, you have something in the spirit realm and then there's a reflection of it in the physical realm. Maybe there's something where in Obojima right now that maybe there's a new tree is going to grow, or maybe that's something that the Dawn Blossom Guild is trying to like reestablish a world tree. That there maybe that could be some kind of quest, that we throw in there eventually, like for any DM who's playing in this world, is that one of the quests is trying to regrow a world tree, or that, that maybe it's just the Dawn Blossom Guild, maybe it's other druids on Obojima that are all trying to kind of do that. Like, there was once a world tree, it disappeared, and then, maybe they're trying to grow one back. So you have one in the physical realm as well.
Yeah.
So it's like an adventure. You have to go into the spirit realm, find this world tree, maybe learn some lore, bring it back, and then you can reestablish. And maybe that's kind of the path of the world tree is.
It's
that's one of their deals.
That that kind of stuff bakes in adventure, into the subclass, which is interesting, and it's a reason it grounds this one in Obojima in a fun way. And I think that maybe that's part of the task. If like I'm going to take one of these subclasses that is not in the Obojima book, I want to find ways to tie that in. Like the idea of paths, like, with barbarians, and so much of Obojima, at least the charm to me about the setting, is travel. And the idea of paths being this thing where, it's so interesting. Like when I make a level 1 character, there's oftentimes like the expectation that they're not they're not very experienced. Like literally experience points are are part of the game, or unless you're using milestones. And so the idea of having lived some amount of life before your adventuring days is kind of interesting. So like, was there this path of the world tree? It's interesting that you choose subclasses, not at first level. And what does that mean? Like I choose, okay, so I'm going to take the path of the world tree, or I'm going to take the path of the berserker, or what have you. Like I have already decided I'm going to be a barbarian. And between my choice to be a barbarian and my subclass, I've experienced things that will put me on a path, like literally. And like, what does that mean? And so if you're playing a barbarian, that's something to consider, is what your character is doing that will get you to choose one of those paths. Because unless you're already saying like, I'm going to play a path of the berserker barbarian I start at level 1, and I think a lot of people do that, right? Like I'm going to build into that subclass. But maybe that's not how it works. Maybe you're like, I'm going to play a barbarian. And through the course of play, you decide, whoa, I'm actually leaning toward the path of the zealot now, or the path of the wild heart, just based on this, my experiences. And because like the idea of path could be metaphorical, but it also could be kind of half metaphor and also half like you've gone on these journeys and you've encountered this, a spirit tree or something like that. And you're like, yep, I'm now going to take the path of the world tree. And it's not one-to-one. We're not talking about Yggdrasil, but what is the Obojima version of that?
Yeah. It makes me think that we probably need to do a couple of things. One would be to create like a little book about the spirit realm. I think that's been brewing for a while now. It's like, okay, let's make, if we just took the space of Obojima and then made the spirit realm what that is, that would be one thing where we could actually put in something like the world tree and things to adventure for down there. I think the other thing is it would be interesting to create take all these subclasses and then do sort of a like what you're saying, like here's a bunch of story reasons, here's a bunch of metaphors of like, if you want to create a path of the world tree barbarian in Obojima, here's a way to like translate it over. Here's a bunch of story prompts. Here's a bunch of like things that your character experienced that then kind of dovetail into an Obojima story and an Obojima character. So
should we try a different one?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's jump into it. Let's get out of barbarian.
All right.
Because I feel like we're only going to cover such a small amount, and I want to get as many different classes.
Dare we go to a cleric? Oh my God.
I would cry. Okay, so College of Dance, College of Glamour.
You're going Bard?
I think that I'm going straight. I'm just that way. No one's like, "Why did you skip over one thing?" I'm going in alphabetical order.
Okay.
I'm going in alphabetical order.
Bard subclass.
College of Lore and College of Valor. I mean, College of Lore and College of Valor feel kind of just like the kind of generic versions of bards to me. So I don't feel like there's a huge explanation as to how.
When you say generic, you mean the classic version?
The classic version, yeah. Like baseline bards, I think they tend to they slip into one of those two directions, and then I think from there flavors are added. So I think like Glamour and Dance are more flavorful, hyper-specific bards.
All right, so the College of Glamour traces its origins to the beguiling magic of the Feywild. Bards who study this magic weave threads of beauty and terror into their songs and stories, and the mightiest among them can cloak themselves in otherworldly majesty. Their performances stir up wistful longing for forgotten innocence, evoke unconscious memories of long-held fears, and tug at the emotions of even the most hard-hearted listeners. So it is very much about emotion and the power of emotions. The Feywild is basically emotion. In classic D&D, the Feywild is a realm of emotion, basically in Technicolor, right? Like it is.
That feels. I mean, obviously, Feywild is actually being replaced by this, can be replaced by the spirit realm. Spirits are replacing Fey all throughout Obojima. That's that's how we've done it. So, I think connecting the College of Glamour Bard to spirits makes sense. Alternatively,
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Finish your thought.
Alternatively, there's another conversation. So Adam and I did this mock-up of Obojima Magic, which I guess we have never talked with Ari. I'll have to see if I can find it. But it talks about the different types of magic that exist within Obojima. And there's like arcane magic, which is magic that is derived from people crafting and like the practice of honing in different effects and wizards. And then there's like spirit magic, which exists. There's first age magic, which is kind of connected under nature magic. Like Obojima's will is kind of like its own existence. And then there's this kind of magic that is like we're calling it like their memories. It's almost like the existence of these like potent emotions and memories within Obojima cause magical things to occur. And I think the best example of that would be like the rubble golem. Like the rubble golem is not like a spirit, like your soul trapped in a thing. It is the memory of a person trapped in a thing.
That's interesting.
And so we were talking about in Yatterman, we're expanding on Yatterman a little bit, and on the outskirts of Yatterman, there is old Yatterman, which is like, if you imagine Yatterman was this giant city, the first age magic keeps it all alive. But on the outskirts, there's portions of buildings that aren't being affected by the magic and they're crumbling. Yeah. But there's memories still existing. And so you might pass by a bakery that's long gone.
It's like a haunted area then.
Almost.
Right. Yeah. So Obojima's version of that.
Yeah. And as you pass by it, you might smell like baked goods, like fresh baked cookies or something like that.
These echoes. Yeah.
These things that are so potent that they still exist. And I think maybe that's a place where the College of Glamour could fit into, where they're kind of like playing on, I think it's this line here: wistful longing for a forgotten innocence evoke unconscious memories of a long held fears. Like it's playing into the past a bit.
I think again, it's like taking it's like the word choice, like glamour or that kind of thing, and just shifting it a bit to use something like maybe it was the College of Memories, the College of
so like the subclass itself mechanically is built around things like being like charming things. It's very much like an enchanting type magic that's being used here.
Illusions as well, right?
It's like they have beguiling magic at level 3, and they get the mantle of inspiration, the mantle of majesty. So they have all these kind of mantles that they kind of cloak themselves in.
Generally, if like you go to their epic, their 14 level wand, that's kind of like they're distilling like the ultimate expression of this college.
Yeah. So as a bonus action, this is Unbreakable Majesty. This is their capstone ability here. You can assume a magically majestic presence for 1 minute until you have the incapacitated condition. For the duration, whenever any creature hits you or an attack roll for the first time on a turn, the attacker must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC, or the attack misses instead as the creature recoils from your majesty. So you just have gravitas as a thing. So it's interesting because that could be, if it's playing in the memory space, I think that's really fruitful, and I want to revisit that. This feels very much like I'm using the power of the Feywild to make myself awesome in different ways, and to and that's what's enchanting you in a certain way. Like I'm as glamorous as possible, right? And so my initial thought on this was, connect it to the spirit realm. But I think we go to the spirit realm a lot. Is there a way to differentiate aspects of the spirit realm so it's not just like all one big pool of spirit stuff? So like, for example, are there spirits that are expressions of emotion, and it's like these are the spirits that either grant this person power or have infused this this bard or in some fashion, or with their music they're able to resonate with a particular kind of spirit, that kind of a thing.
Or it could be like a different way of using whelming. Like imagine if you have a spirit that could whelm you. Like usually spirits whelm objects, but what if this person, this class, this subclass, actually can allow spirits to whelm them. So if you
and take on aspects.
Yeah, maybe it's less like they're actually getting whelmed by the spirits, but they're taking on the aspects of spirits that represent different emotions. So it's like whelming in the sense that like you're like getting a part of the spirit's features, but yeah, it's very like you're calling upon like
and maybe that is tied to music, right? Like music is emotional, right? Like, you know, if you ever like listen to or watch a movie and if you're able to remove the score, it's just people talking.
John Williams, Jaws without John Williams is like, what is it?
Yeah, I remember watching the extras on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just see the raw footage just before color corrections. There's no score, and it just looks like people playing dress up. It's so weird. But then when you do when it takes on the cinematic look, and then you add the score, it's like I am drawn into this place.
It could also be that this is maybe, if it's not about spirits, it could be using first stage magic. Like we've never really kind of said what that is. We've said that, well, it keeps like a place like Yadamon from falling apart into... Maybe this subclass has found a way to like tap into first stage, whatever that is, whatever sustains that, and they've just found a way to deal with it.
I would be remiss to not mention it, even though it's such a different vibe. But Sinners, the movie Sinners is fantastic. If you haven't watched it, I know off camera, everyone's a fan off camera here. Like all the people... the crew at 1985 Games loves it. I
haven't seen it yet.
It's very good, but the you know, the point of the film or a portion of the film is that there are musicians so, you know, once in a lifetime musicians so good that their music it kind of like transcends time, but it also like connects you to this deeper magic in the world, and in Sinner's case draws unfortunate death for a lot of people. They call, you know, this blues player, when he plays, these vampires are called to him. They they feel it. They want his music. They want his skill. It's like this thing. But you could do the same thing with the College of Glamour, where it's like the music is the catalyst to draw this spirit to you, to like and take on its guise in some way. You know, like I could imagine Unbreakable Majesty, the 14th level capstone for this bard, is them playing this outstanding song that draws a elder spirit to them, and the majesty that they are taking on is the majesty of this long forgotten elder spirit that hasn't existed on Obojima for 1,000 years. I mean, and now they're bringing their presence back in this
like see it taking shape around them as they're, you know,
exactly,
playing this thing.
So maybe the majesty isn't necessarily you, the character, but the majesty is what you've you summoned.
Yeah.
So, because I think the wish fulfillment of this subclass is like, I get to be the rock star.
Yep.
But in Obojima world, it's sort of like I'm making something that is attracting the rock star, you know, which is the elder spirit. So there's a little bit of a shift as far as, but I think that kind of fits with Obojima. That's interesting.
It's kind of cool. All right, we're jumping to the next one because we've only talked about two.
Now we are on the puck of time here.
We are running out of time.
Oh, goodness.
Druids. I feel like druids are fairly easy to connect into Obojima, but let's pick one of the really difficult ones.
All right.
So what do we have here? We have the Circle of the Sea. I don't feel like we need to talk about that. Ocean's pretty standard in Obojima. Circle of the Land is also, and Circle of the Moon, I feel like don't need a ton of information. Circle of the Stars is a possibility for us to talk about. Keep on talking, not into
the thing that the talking.
Alternatively, it could just be that druids are really easy to port.
It's very Obojima.
If we read this description and we're like, it feels Obojima, let's move on.
All right, the Circle of the Stars has tracked heavenly patterns since the Immemorial. Since time immemorial. Got it. Discovering secrets hidden amid the constellations. By understanding these secrets, the druids, the circle, seek to harness the powers of the cosmos. This is funny, considering that constellations are I mean, I'm assuming everyone who's now reading this podcast is now aware
Hey, Miles the editor here. Jeremiah is about to spoil a major plot point of Obojima Book 1. If you do not want to be spoiled or you're a player, skip forward a minute or two and you should be all right. Okay, back to the show.
The Obojima is a migrating island because we said it in the back of the book. Yeah. So the constellations are constantly...
But if you're a player, forget that.
Yeah, if you're a player, I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have done a warning.
Insert warning.
Yeah.
So the constellations would constantly changing, which is interesting, but I don't think that necessarily deters from the circle of stars.
And also, maybe a lot of Obojimans aren't paying attention too much. I mean, maybe they are, but maybe they aren't. Just depends culturally. Like, Are they really paying attention to the constellations, or is it more just sort of like, oh, those are pretty, those are cool?
Yeah. That's it. I don't feel like Circle of Stars is too far off that you couldn't integrate it into Obojima. I want to get some of the weird ones. Like, how do you get like the Black Dragon Fighter or something like that into Obojima? Like, I want some difficult lifts.
Okay.
All right, fighter.
All right, champion is a champion fighter, the most basic of fighters.
Psi Warrior.
Psi Warrior has to be hard.
All right, let's look at this.
Psi Warrior.
All right, what do we got going on with the Psi Warrior?
So I always jump to the level 18, the telekinetic master. Like, so if that's the ultimate expression of this.
I'm going to read the description of the subclass, and then we'll go right to that.
All right, sounds good.
So Psi Warriors awaken the power of their minds to augment their physical might. They harness this psionic power to infuse their weapon strikes, lash out with telekinetic energy, and create barriers of mental force.
It's so not Obojima.
So not Obojima.
Okay, so is like, all right, so what is you are the most kick-ass Psi Warrior. What do you do at level 18?
You always have the telekinesis spell prepared. With this feature, you can cast it without a spell slot or components, and your spellcasting ability, for it is intelligence. On each of your turns, while you maintain concentration on it, including the turn when you cast it, you can make one attack with a weapon as a bonus action. So once you cast the spell with this feature, you cannot do so in this way again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend a psionic energy die. Well, that's new. All right. No action required to restore your use of it. Okay.
Psionics is just so disconnected from Obojima. So
this might be a situation where you're like, maybe this doesn't really quite work. Is there a way to reclassify the concept of psionic power here?
Yeah, I think that's the first step we would need to do.
Yeah. So
let's avoid spirits, considering that was the answer to the last two. So let's avoid spirits. So what can we do outside of spirits? And it's not a paladin, so it's not through like practice and devotion. They're getting this. There's some source of this power that they are drawing on.
This is essentially like a Jedi, right? This is a Jedi. It's because it's Psi Warrior. This isn't just like full on, like Jean Grey or Professor X style psionic power. This is, I'm using this to fight. This is a fighter subclass. This is basically a Jedi.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is there something in Obojima that could accommodate it? Like
So we break up in our magic flowchart as listed by us. We break up magic into 3 categories, and then within those 3 categories, they break out again. But the 3 main categories are spirit magic, nature magic, and arcane magic.
Yeah.
So
this feels arcane.
This feels arcane, right? This is the creation of somebody. Somebody has through practice developed this technique. And so it could be just by sword masters, like in developing this, because I'm imagining it's fairly combat oriented. Like everything about this, I'd imagine, is focused on fighting or protecting yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we don't do this often in D&D anymore, but like the idea of also what if, and again, because you can choose however you want to explore this in your game. Now, if let's say I was playing a Dara, and this was simply, these psychic abilities were something that I simply had, from the previous Dara that passed me this knowledge.
You got this
and I'm just like, I'm a warrior, and I can do these things with my mind, as a Dara. And I was like,
cool.
That's something that could just simply be.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And this is a thing where we can, what I think is really cool about this type of approach is you can simply decide, I'm a weirdo in this world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't maybe a tradition at all. My Dara simply has these abilities that they can't explain.
It's funny. Yeah. It's, like a Dara, you just tap a Dara glyph and all of a sudden you like are now on the path of being a Psi Warrior. The other thing would be like, you learn this through a scroll or something that is unconnected, and what this does, because it feels so out of place, because it's so aggro combat oriented, it starts to speak of like what was going on before the first age, or what happened. Like there's this big mystery of when we were describing like the subway, we were like, is there a sort of a post-apocalyptic feel to this, where it's like, what are there, if you went to the subway and you found like all these lockers, where you kind of store your stuff, like, are they filled with stuff? Would you find somebody's like driver's license? Would you find like evidence of people? Because right now in Obojima, it's like there's first age items, but you never really get any evidence of the people who worked there or who lived there. So there's this like feeling of like all of a sudden everybody disappeared, and then these buildings just kind of teleported here onto this island. So if you had a character like this who had this knowledge, it's like these people actually were training like the Jedi for some kind of great conflict. Well, was that what made the first age people disappear? What's going on? Like it starts to create this question mark of what was this person training for, and where did this whole discipline come from? Because obviously it was about like busting heads.
So you can do like world building implications at your own table.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because if you want to explore this kind of stuff, especially if your group, if your players are interested in first age tech. Yeah. It's like, great. And you want to do like a Psi Warrior, there might be something there that they discovered. Like I'm thinking about like, in a lot of our conversations, we talk about, the idea of expanding consciousness and like, just reaching this next level of being a person and what that means. And you can imagine this thing of just like somebody read or listened to an audiobook, like a self-help audiobook, and it just like it expanded their mind and they got these psychic powers, right? Yeah. Like that's totally something that's doable in this. Or they met somebody like on the top of Mount Arbora or something like that, and it's just like, whoa, this changed the way I think. Again, you don't choose this subclass until later. When you're at first level, you're not choosing. I'm going to be a Psi Warrior, which means you didn't always have psychic powers. Yeah. At some point, they just spontaneously happen based on the way the system works. Yeah, right.
I mean, in the free RPG day, I think there was a part where you meet Jumaga, and you have a vision, and one of the sort of possible visions you can have is like this impending sort of storm cloud that's coming, and you have this like feeling of it. Maybe like you're saying, it's like you could go up, on Mount Arbora, and have a vision of this thing, and all of a sudden you get this power. And you're like, I don't know what, but I had this ominous portent of, hard times are coming. Yeah. And we live on this idyllic island, but I need to be prepared to cast guarded mind and bulwark of force. So
classic.
Something is happening.
We've all been there.
I need to hit level 7 so I can become a telekinetic adept, and master new ways to use my psi powered leap. It's like, okay, you are obviously being prepared for something, being prepared to be a defender of this island using psionic powers, which means maybe the incoming, threat is psionic in nature.
So I think there are then two ways to approach this if you're a player, if you want to have fun with it. So you can say, at level 1, I'm making a character and I want to be a Psi Warrior. Yeah. Cool. You don't choose that subclass until level 3. Okay, so what's happening with your psychic abilities up to that point? are you getting just weird dreams? Are you getting these weird portent? Things are happening to your character in your character's mind that are setting your character up narratively to then become a Psi Warrior. Like they finally manifest, right? Yeah. Or are you saying, I'm a fighter. I will choose my subclass at 3 based on what's been happening in the story so far, right? And it's much more, it could be more organic that way. But I think that most people have the idea of their character, of like their character in their most badass form.
Yeah.
When they sit to make them.
The telekinetic master.
Right.
You know?
You're not a telekinetic master. You're gonna be playing for a long time before you're the telekinetic master. Right? Like, and also in Obojima, when we talk about, oftentimes it's idealized basically up until around level 10.
Yeah.
So in that regard, you're like telekinetic master is kind of like off the map of an Obojima campaign. So when you're thinking about those things, like I would actually encourage, like when you're playing a fighter, if you don't have that concept, go with the story and see where the story takes your character, and then choose your subclass based on that. Because I think it could be really fun and rewarding.
I think what would be super cool is, like, as you're saying, like you don't, until level 3, you're not picking it. But imagine if in the first through third level, there's a chart of just like, because I'm thinking about like when Spider-Man wakes up, he just got bit. He wakes up and he's like, oh, I'm all hot and sweaty and I'm late for school, but I feel really sick. And then he like goes and he crushes the doorknob, or his hands stick to the wall and he is not able to pull them off. Like there are these like crazy mishaps that are happening as your psionic powers are starting to wake up, and you're like, what's happening to me? Like I'm becoming this weird like mutant. And so it's like, you levitate you're in the tavern and the whole, everybody's drinks levitate and fly off the thing, and everybody gives you like a dirty look, like what's going on? You're like, I didn't do anything, I'm sorry. And then
problem.
and then like something explodes, and the light bulbs and the spirits are like running away from you, or like and we there could be something like, as you're having telekinetic flare-ups, it could affect spirits.
And that's working with your DM, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Knowing where you know where your character is headed, and then that's a fun way to build that up. Because I think that's just great for subclasses in general, especially ones that have more supernatural bent to them. Like manifesting psychic powers isn't just like, hey, I hit level 3, I could mind bullets now. What? That's not just a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've built up to this. Like, it's coming, and that might be something. I mean, we could do it, but also like the community could do it. Like go through all these subclasses and just start to, like, you're saying, create the on-ramp into the subclass from level 0 all the way to level 3. And that way you're like, what are the weird things that are happening as you're sort of beginning to manifest the powers of these, especially these wilder subclasses where it's like, shoot, I'm becoming a Jedi.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Shucks.
Well, with the I'm becoming a Jedi, I think it's the perfect way to end it. You've become the Jedi.
Yeah.
And let's move on.
Time stops.
Because the time puck has told us. Really, what I'd love to say is we've got through what? Four subclasses? 3 subclasses?
Three.
Barbarian, Bard, Druid, and Fighter.
Would you all want to see us do the rest of these? Should we do more? Is this a good thing? Do you like this? I don't know.
I like it.
I think
I'm having fun.
I'm having fun.
I want to do this. Yeah.
That said, the puck of destinies, whatever it is telling us to go to sleep.
Puck of whatever.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was the Obojima Podcast. You can follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can join us on Discord and Reddit. Give us a like down below and tell us if we should do more, or if there's a subclass that you would want us to have us talk about. Like, is there a specific subclass? Or like, how do I put this in Obojima? I need the writer's assistance.
Are we going to make Jeremiah shed tears for clerics?
Don't do it.
Do it.
All right. Thank you so much, and we will catch you next time.